Welcome to a special episode of Talking Ball with Pat Leonard here on the Believe Network and on the PL on NFL YouTube channel. This is the NFL Divisional Playoff Preview episode with Super Bowl 50 champion Benny Fowler, former NFL wide receiver. We're going to break down all the matchups, all 8 teams, all 4 games, as well as reviewing the wild card round, what stood out to us, and talk about the Dallas Cowboys coaching opening, the vacancy. Will that be filled by Cliff Kingsbury, by Ben Johnson, by Kellen Moore, by Deion Sanders? We'll get into all of that with Benny. Brought to you here, of course, by MyBookie, Boom Chaga, and Estate 98 Coffee. MyBookie rolling out the red carpet for sports bettors, making you money all season here on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. Use that promo code Pat's Picks and get a 50% match on your first deposit of $50 or more, all the way up to $1,000, plus a $10 casino chip. Also brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, a natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants and heart-healthy compounds. You can easily pour this natural liquid supplement into any of your favorite drinks. I put mine in my coffee every morning and immediately feel the difference. I personally felt a post-workout like energy boost with Boom. Chaga also has the ability to lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve immune and heart health with its beta-glucans and antioxidants. Go to boomchaga.com today. Place your first order using the code TalkingBall25 or using that QR code on your screen, and you'll get 25% off your first order on the subscribe and save option. Start feeling the difference today at boomchaga.com. Also brought to you by Estate 98 Coffee, a specialty coffee concentrate, perfect for when you want to make a quick cup of coffee and skip the lines. Takes me less than 10 seconds to make a delicious Estate 98 hot or iced coffee. It's great as a mixer for espresso martinis, a favorite drink nowadays, and each bottle can make up to 16 cups. Go to estate98.com/talkingball to get an exclusive offer, 80% off your first order of Estate 98 coffee. Excited to talk about the NFL divisional playoff round and preview, so let's get to it with Benny Fowler, Super Bowl 50 champion, former NFL wide receiver. All right, as promised, welcome back to Talking Ball with Pat Leonard, NFL Divisional Playoff Preview Round. And, of course, our Super Bowl 50 champion, former NFL wide receiver is here. Benny Fowler, what's going on, Beans? How you doing?
Chilling, man. Just got back from Tiger Woods Golf League, or TGL, tomorrow's golf league. So it was a lot of fun to just go down there and see Tiger in the flesh and swing him, see him. It's always good to see him swing the club. So just got back from that. It was awesome.
What's it like seeing him swing a club? I've never seen him swing in person.
Perfect. I mean, it's just perfect form. They got blown out actually in the tournament or in the match, but seeing Tiger swing a club at any point in time is always good to see.
I was going to say, that's bucket list stuff right there. Nice.
Yeah,
A man of the world. That's cool. I could tell by how you said that. You're like, it's always good. It means like you've done it before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great to be here with you. Really excited to talk about these games. Before we get into the games, though, I wanted to talk about something that's grabbed all the headlines. Like A.J. Brown from the Philadelphia Eagles ended up with only 1 catch for 10 yards on 3 targets in the Eagles' victory in the wild card round, Benny. And if you saw, he was reading a book on the sidelines, seemingly to keep his head together when he's not getting the ball, called Inner Excellence by Jim Murphy. It's now risen to the Amazon bestseller list. I'm wondering why he wasn't reading Silver Spoon, The Imperfect Guide to Success. I think, Benny, if the Philadelphia Eagles and A.J. Brown want to get it done, we got to get one of these to South Philadelphia, to Lincoln Financial Field. What do you think of that?
I mean, I would love for AJ to pick up the book, but I think my book is more overall life-centric. It's a little bit more of my story. Inner Excellence seems more of a in-the-moment mindfulness performance type of book. My book is not performance, but shout out to AJ Brown, actually, just, being thoughtful in terms of, hey, I'm frustrated right now. How can I recenter and refocus my attention on something more positive? And reading little excerpts like that, or finding ways to be more mindful and in the present moment, I think is always important as a player. It's always important in life. And what a great way to control your emotions, and actually just, it takes the emotion out of it. You're reading the words on the page and it gets you recenter and refocused. And the most important thing for them was that they got the win.
No, totally. And it exemplifies or demonstrates that he has created a strategy to deal with his frustrations and to manage that part of his performance, the peaks and the valleys, that kind of thing. So, okay, so what I gather from your answer is Mr. AJ Brown, Monday through Friday, you're reading Silver Spoon, and then you can go back to inner excellence on Sunday. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, but, that's a perfect way to put it.
Nice, nice. All right. So let's get into these games. The Eagles, one of 8 remaining, 4 games in an exciting weekend of football coming up. So let's dive right into it. First, we're going to start with the first game on Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Lisa Salters on the call. It is the 1-seeded Chiefs in the AFC as 9-point favorites over the 4-seed Houston Texans. The Texans getting a big 32-12 win over the Chargers to qualify for this matchup at Arrowhead. Benny, how do you break it down for us? What do you think is coming in this Chiefs Texans showdown?
9-point favorite. That's a pretty big favorite for the Chiefs, but I think it'll be a lot closer than that. Andy Reid coming off the bye week though is always good. He's not always good. He's great coming off the bye week. I see the Chiefs coming out and I see their first 15 plays really going down there and getting a touchdown opening drive. I can see them, just with the preparation, having all their weapons back and being a little bit healthier and having a couple weeks off. I can see them getting off to a fast start, but D'Amico Ryans and that Texans defense has done an incredible job these last couple of weeks and have really been coming on strong in terms of how they've been playing. CJ Stroud, Nico Collins connections look strong as it did in week 1 when Nico Collins got off to an incredible start the first 4 weeks of the season. So I can see them continuing to do some good things, but they haven't played a defense like this. They will be getting different looks. They will be getting after CJ Stroud. I can see Chris Jones having a big day just based off of the Houston Texans offensive line really hasn't been that good. It's going to be interesting to see, but, I got Kansas City winning this one and getting, to the AFC Championship game for, I don't know, 6th, 7th year in a row. I see them getting back there, but I see CJ Stroud continuing to make progressions in his progression in his career. It's great that he's got 2 playoff wins, but, he's gone up. I think he lost to Lamar last year, and I see him losing to Mahomes this year. But, those are 2 incredible quarterbacks to be playing against.
Benny, I have to admit, I feel like a complete fraud picking the Texans to win the Super Bowl at the start of the year, bailing on them in their first playoff game and picking the Chargers to roll, and then watching that horror show for Jim Harbaugh's team and watching the Texans dominate. I feel like I got to roll with the Texans not only to cover, but to win here. I know I picked the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. They probably win the game, but I have to flip back over and just ride or die with my pick because, like I said, totally
You can't flip
fraudulent.
back over, Pat. You can't just flip. You can't pick them to win the Super Bowl at the beginning. Then first week of the playoffs, you're like, no way. They lose, and then now you're going back. You can't do that. You can't flip flop like that, Pat. You got it.
It's bad. I know it's bad. I admit it's bad. I didn't know this version of the Texans still existed. I have to admit, like I felt like this was the team that we saw the other day. That was the team I thought they were in August. And by late October, I was like, oh, they're not that. And now I'm watching this Chargers game like, wait a minute. They have the quarterback, they have the defense. Listen to some of these stats too. I mean, you just kind of rattled off how they won, but obviously their best players were their best players, Stroud, Mixon, Collins on offense. But on defense, you have Derek Stingley Jr., 2 interceptions. I actually gave out that prop before the game at plus 10,000. Made some people some money on that one. Kamari Lassiter, the 2nd-round pick, rookie with an interception. Eric Murray with an interception return for a touchdown. And then this is what jumps out to me, Benny, and why I think the Texans actually have a chance to keep this close into the 4th quarter against Kansas City. KC's pass protection, obviously suspect all year, last 2 years, frankly, even when they won last year. But their pass rush with Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, Mario Edwards Jr., and Danico Autry against the Chargers, 19 pressures, 5 sacks, 3 hits, and 11 hurries against the Chargers. So I feel like if they give that to the Kansas City Chiefs, then we're looking at a toss-up game or no.
You're not talking about Justin Herbert. You're talking about Patrick Mahomes. That's where things are a little bit different. And I'm super surprised that Herbert turned the ball over like that. But the pressures and the hurries and things like that work against that Herbert or whoever it may be, whoever the other quarterback is. It worked against Goff this year. I don't believe it works against Patrick Mahomes. I also don't believe it works against Andy Reid. I think all those things that you just said are going to be very well planned for in terms of how Andy Reid and Matt Nagy will game plan for this pass rush. And they've played against this type of defense before. I believe D'Amico Ryans was the coordinator or one of the coordinators when they played San Francisco before was there. So they know this defense really well. They know how to play against it. They probably just played against it last year. And even though D'Amico Ryans wasn't in San Francisco, they play against this defense. So they understand what works and what works well. I don't know who the wild card person is going to be in terms of who is going to show up for the Chiefs in terms of how to attack this defense. But it happens every year to where, it's McCall Hardman scores a game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. It is Marquez Valdez-Scantling making big plays against the Ravens in the AFC Championship. So
good point.
Everybody's going to be planning for Xavier Worthy and Hopkins, but, who is going to be the receiver? Is it going to be Marquise Brown this week where it's like, all right, we haven't seen him all year and he scores 2 touchdowns? Or is it Noah Gray that scores 2 touchdowns on Saturday? Or is it Kareem Hunt who has 150 yards on the ground rushing? Who are you going to game plan for in terms of, Kelsey's the person to stop and Xavier Worthy's the person that, you can't, but we'll see. It's going to be somebody who we're not expecting to score touchdowns on Saturday against Houston that is going to show up big.
That's a great point. You took the name right out of my mouth. I was going to say Hollywood Brown because, we didn't see him all year. He plays like the last maybe 2 games or something like that, or one of the last couple games of the season. They're throwing him the ball a little bit. Totally.
Could be
a guy that's like off the radar.
Juju Smith-Schuster might be big in this playoffs for Kansas City. Big body, possession type guy, third down type guy who can maneuver in the slot, and people aren't going to be ready for that.
No doubt. So Kansas City recently in late December already beat Houston 27-19 in this same stadium. Interesting from a betting standpoint, as far as the 9-point spread, that Kansas City really controlled the whole game for the most part, and they still only won by 8. So if you're looking to bet Texans there, that's good news. Chiefs can become the second team ever to reach 7 straight conference championship games. They won a franchise record 15 games in the regular season. Andy Reid ranks second in NFL history with 26 career playoff wins. A guy I always like to tell people to watch in the playoffs for the Chiefs is Nick Bolton, the inside linebacker. He's an amazing player.
Who's the other team for the 7 straight? Is it New England?
Yes, New England, 8 straight from 2011 to 2018. We'll have to send out some free Estate 98 coffee for Benny rocking that trivia question, knocking it down.
2011 and 2018. They only won 1 Super Bowl, right?
In that stretch, yes, you're right.
It's crazy.
I believe so. The Texans can advance to their first conference championship game in franchise history, and D'Amico Ryans is only the 5th head coach since 2000 to win a playoff game in each of his first 2 seasons. Before we get on to the next matchup, Benny, you mentioned Herbert was surprising. He turned the ball over that much. 2 quick receiver questions. Now, I know, as we get into the spring and we break down some receivers, I can't wait to hear you break down Ladd McConkey. Because, for a guy like him to give a secondary like that, these kinds of problems, 9 catches, 197 and a touchdown, that was really something. So I want to know your quick review on Ladd. And then also, is it time to bail on Quentin Johnston? 5 targets, no catches, only 1 drop, according to PFF. But a guy who was a first-round pick and just doesn't seem to be able to get it done.
Ladd, incredible receiver, very quarterback friendly, got great hands, ran great routes throughout the game. So it was good. I think I saved a clip of him running an over route. He ran an over route, OTB, over the ball, stopped, and came back to the quarterback 2 yards, catches the ball, and then turns it upfield. So he's super quarterback friendly, runs great routes, knows how to create separation. It's one of the better things that you can see. And I think, as I think about my hometown team, the Denver Broncos, they need a route runner. They have good receivers, but they don't have a route runner. And Ladd McConkey is a route runner. He's somebody that creates separation. He's the third down guy. He's one of those Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Hollywood Brown type of receivers, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, where you just create separation and you're able to move him in the slot. He's able to play off the ball, so you can't jam him at the line of scrimmage. And he's able to create the separation. You never know which way. He's super quick twitch. You see this a little bit with even Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. These guys get in motion and they get a little bit of a run and start at you. How do you really stop them?
Right.
Quentin Johnson, I think it's tough. Maybe he needs a change of scenery. Maybe Herbert isn't his type of quarterback. Herbert has no touch on the type of passes that he throws. And I know he's a young quarterback, or people will give Herbert the excuse, but every pass is a bullet pass. And that's because I don't think he knows always where he's going. I mean, you could be running a slant and he's going to throw it as hard as he can. So, I think it's more of a question of is Herbert really the guy? Probably not, and
wow.
Everybody just always wants to give Herbert the credit because he is that prototypical quarterback, 6'5", rocket arm, but in the biggest moments, he's pretty much non-existent. So we've seen that the last couple of years.
Man, I asked the wrong question there. I buried the lead. Benny Fowler saying Justin Herbert may not be the guy, but that's a really good point about, the lack of touch on the passes. And even, not every interception was just the quarterback in this game, but the lack of composure under pressure in these big spots when you are a guy who has that mobility, has that size, this is who he's supposed to be, right? And you look at guys around the league.
Yeah, why are we giving Justin Herbert an excuse? And I think a couple of those interceptions were tip passes. It's because he's throwing the ball at 90 miles per hour. So his receiver doesn't catch it. The defender catches the tipped pass. Throw the ball with some touch. CJ Stroud is a perfect example of a quarterback with touch. I'm going to step up in the pocket and I'm going to deliver a ball where the receiver can catch and run. Joe Burrow, really good at that. Throws a ball where you can catch and run with it. That's when is Justin Herbert going to have that progression in his career? You don't throw the ball 90 miles per hour on an in route.
One of your many valuable insights weekly is, I think, in the media, even though I can be somebody who's very critical and just fairly critical, I think, but harshly so, sometimes you err on the side of saying, hey, this is a bad game, but it's only one game. But you bring this perspective to the conversation of the bottom line in the NFL is you either get it done in the big spots and win or you don't, right? Like Herbert has the promise, has the draft status, has the stats or the analytics to back it up, but you're just bottom lining it saying in his biggest spots, he doesn't play well. So
yeah, he hasn't. I mean, he hasn't played well. I mean, people will give him the injuries and different things like that. But if I'm watching and how people rave about, his talent, well, it's time to see it.
Oh, very interesting and hard to argue with that viewpoint. All right, let's jump to our second game of the weekend. Excuse me, Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern in prime time. We have the lowest seed remaining, the Washington Commanders, going to the Motor City to face your one-seeded Detroit Lions. The Lions are 9.5-point favorites. Washington with an impressive 23-20 road win over the Buccaneers. But Benny, I'm going to frame it this way. I think the Lions are going to blow their doors off and blow them out of Ford Field. Prove me wrong.
They're not getting blown out in the playoffs. They could win this game.
Wow.
They can easily win this game. Jaden Daniels has played in big moments before. This is one of those games where Detroit, just because you think it's Washington, that you think this is it, easy pickings, and that you don't prepare the same way or you think it's going to be easy. But they got some players over there. Marshawn Lattimore is a great player. Dan Quinn, great defensive coordinator. You got Bobby Wagner, incredible player, smart player. You got people who can get after the pass rush. And you have a quarterback who can keep plays alive and keep Detroit's offense off the field. They can make this a slow, methodical game. I'm not saying they're going to rush for 200 yards, but who's to say that, they're letting Jaden Daniels know, we want to keep these guys on the sideline. Use your legs. Detroit doesn't play they don't do well with running quarterbacks. Josh Allen put up numbers against them. Keep plays alive, keep plays on the run. Detroit's secondary has struggled all year. Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz, they don't have a I'm going to kill you with talent type of roster, but they got people who could play football. So they're going to come in there. They're coming in there with playing with house money. They're not supposed to be there. Going on the road, just went on the road to Tampa. What's saying they can't go on the road and make this a game? They can. I'm not saying they can score 40 points, but what if it's 31-28? What if it's 28-24? It's that type of game to me. Because who's gonna stop Jaden Daniels? Who on the other side of the ball is going to contain him?
I think if Washington controls the time of possession, I think your prediction for how it could go is absolutely on the table. But if they're not able to sustain long drives throughout the game, I have respect for Dan Quinn. I have respect for the Bobby Wagners and some of the Marshawn Lattimores and some of the talent on Washington's side of the field on the defensive side of the ball. I've just watched the Lions too many times have like a parade of touchdowns up and down the field. I believe Jared Goff, I was looking at a stat earlier, has at least 270 passing yards and a touchdown in like every playoff game he has played. And Jahmyr Gibbs is just the guy who,
like my rookie year we played. I think we were 13-3 or 12-4. And we played, we blew Indianapolis out 34-7 at home first week of the season. Then we played them in the divisional round after a bye week, and they beat us. And we had 13 Pro Bowlers. So number one, top 10 offense in the league, top 3 offense. Peyton 40 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Wes Welker, Julius Thomas, all had touchdowns. I think we had a receiver duo. I think Demaryius had 1,600 yards that year, 1,700. Emmanuel had 1,400. Wes had his 700, 800. So did Julius Thomas. I've already seen this movie before, and we lost at home. So don't say it can't be done. Andrew Luck came in there and kept us off the field, scrambling for first downs. Reggie Wayne was in his last couple years. I don't even remember who the receivers were for the Colts besides Reggie Wayne. So I know it could be done. We were supposed to blow them out.
Damn. It is the NFL, and if you underestimate somebody, they will beat you. Also, to your point, just like we were talking about last week, where if the Texans did win, CJ Stroud is the kind of guy who has the ability to be the best player on the field. Jaden Daniels certainly has shown already that he has the chance to be the best player on a field, even that includes this Detroit Lions team. I do feel like the Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, especially combination of not just the creativity and the play calling, but also the reason I think it could be a blowout is I think Campbell is going to go for the jugular. I think he's going to try to score 50. Not that obviously you're always trying to do that, but I don't view him as the coach who's going to, let's say, go up 10-7 and make it like a possession, control the game type thing. I think they're just going to try to turn it into a track meet on their side and just run them out of the building.
Scoring or beating them by 50 doesn't do anything for you, and playing super aggressive doesn't do anything for you. And you don't know where the head of Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn is. These guys are getting ready to accept head coaching jobs. That also is a super distraction. And people act like, Ben Johnson, they offer this, he's probably talking to Brady, you as an owner and everything that's starting to pick up steam. There's a lot of human element there. And do you start thinking about who's his staff going to be and who are the players he's going to be to take from Detroit to Vegas? And Aaron Glenn thinking about the same thing. People aren't thinking about that. But if these guys accept head coaching jobs either this week or this weekend or next week, Detroit's important. They want to win and go out fast, but that's a distraction for sure.
So you like the Lions to win, but the Commanders to keep it close? Or do you like Washington to upset them here?
I like a little upset. I like Washington going on the road. I like
Benny
Washington
Fowler predicting the Commanders upset. What a story that would be. All right, so to Benny's point, Jaden Daniels, actually, interestingly enough, like he was trying to stay in the pocket and throw the ball, do damage with his arm. He did just that, 268, 2 touchdowns in the win over the Buccaneers. Obviously, they benefited hugely from a Baker Mayfield turnover in Tampa Bay's, red zone backed up where Washington cashed in. Terry McLaurin, De'Ami Brown did damage through the air, 89 yards receiving and a touchdown for each. Although Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler only had 18 carries for 43 yards on the ground, and Daniels only had 36 rushing yards. Now, Vita Vea plays for the Buccaneers. He does not play for the Detroit Lions, so that's a big factor. And Benny, what quick thing on Tampa Bay? One thing that stood out to me in this game, Chris Godwin obviously is a guy they haven't had for a while, wasn't in this game, but only 6 players touched the ball for Tampa's offense in this game. Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Cade Otton, Jalen McMillan, and Rashad White. That's it.
Watch for the trickery from Washington.
Watch for what?
Watch for the trickery from Washington. Watch Cliff Kingsbury. Watch them just try to go for it.
They're house money.
I think Washington will be just as aggressive as Detroit. Why would they not be? They're not going to try to go in there and slow the game down and let's play conservative. They're like, look, we got a playoff win on the road. We're the 5th seed, whatever seed they are. Reverse passes, misdirection screens, double moves. I mean, they might do this. Why not go for it?
Yeah, I think if the pass rush doesn't get to Daniels, then all bets are off because those receivers are good enough to uncover, let alone win routes anyway. And he can also make plays with his legs. I know, having seen Washington in person twice this year and then watched a lot of their games on TV, but especially in person, like I had it stuck in my head from earlier in the season when they played the Giants and they single high man-to-man covered the Giants on the outside and they let Neighbors have a bonkers game. And Joe Witt Jr., the defensive coordinator, didn't really adjust throughout the whole game. Now, the Giants obviously had their own problems and still lost the game, but their defensive scheme, to me, they have some really respected veterans who could make sure the dam doesn't completely break. But I don't have a lot of confidence that Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. are going to have solutions to what the Lions present on that side. So I guess the more interesting dynamic then is Aaron Glenn versus Cliff Kingsbury. We'll look for that. The Washington Commanders won their first playoff game against the Buccaneers. Their first playoff game since 2005. They can advance to the NFC Championship game for the first time since, ready for this, 1991. The Lions became the 4th team ever this year with 3 players each with 12-plus scrimmage touchdowns in the same season. Jahmyr Gibbs led the NFL in scrimmage touchdowns with 20, tied for 1st in rushing touchdowns, ranked 3rd in scrimmage yards, and 5th in rushing yards. And like you said, Hollywood Brown's a guy to look for the Chiefs coming out of nowhere. This guy no longer coming out of nowhere, but because there's so many other big names on Detroit like Amon-Ra and Montgomery and Gibbs and Laporta, Jameson Williams, Benny, has really become a revelation down the stretch. They're using him a lot. Career highs in catches, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns in this regular season, including 5+ catches in 6 of his last 7 games. A speedster and a burner who
big game. Yeah, it's hard to pick against Detroit, but I'm going to go. This is my upset of the week. But Jameson Williams, incredible talent. He is the modern day Deshaun Jackson. That's exactly who he plays like. Deshaun Jackson, you knew he was fast until you got out there and you're like, oh, he's faster than I thought. He's a taller and bigger Deshaun Jackson. Big play guy, reverses, and just speed that, if you're running fast, he'll just run faster. So he's definitely my receiver to watch in this game. Terry McLaurin is also my other receiver to watch. I mean, just, the things that I said last week about Scary Terry came true, 6 catches, I think 90 yards, touchdown. So, incredible hands, incredible player. Jameson Williams, modern day Deshaun Jackson, he will do something incredible that, we haven't seen all playoffs this weekend. So he'll be running by somebody and, somebody's going to pull their hamstring.
Beautiful. Benny Fowler. You've got me off kilter, off base today with the Herbert comment, now picking Washington for the upset, man. I don't know what's coming next. I'm excited for it though. We're going to talk now. Eagles, Rams, the 2 seed in the NFC, hosting the 4 seed. The Rams coming off a 27-9 win over the Minnesota Vikings. Win is not a strong enough word for it. The Eagles beat the Green Bay Packers 22-10 and are 6-point favorites over the Rams. Benny, are the Rams so hot that they're going to go outdoors across the country to Philadelphia and knock off the Birds, who looked a little bit shaky on offense, or are the Eagles the more talented, better team? They've already beaten the Rams once, and they're going to take care of business again.
Eagles are the more talented team. I can see them controlling the line of scrimmage. But if the passing game looked like it looked last week, give me the Rams all day. I think Stafford's on a heater. He knows how to play in the cold. I think it is tough, though, when you go from like LA type of weather, Arizona type of weather, to playing in the frigid Philadelphia, New York type of weather. So I'm going to go Philly. I expect Saquon to not have 255 yards on the ground, but I expect him to continue to have a big game. And I think this is where, A.J. Brown asserts himself into the playoffs, and that things are kind of designed, the passing game is designed around him more so this week, and getting him a little bit more involved now that Jalen is, back playing. And, he was off for a couple weeks with the concussion. But I think getting AJ the ball early in the game, getting him touches, play action game, and their offensive line just dominating, I can see that coming to fruition this week. And just, a Philadelphia type cold run the ball type of game.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Eagles get it done. As long as Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, calls the right plays in the right spots. I thought, you want to get the passing game going, but he called 3 passes in a row at first and 10 from the 13-yard line of the Packers, I think in the second quarter of that game, and they end up having to kick a field goal. You have Saquon Barkley, you have that offensive line. He's known for being too pass happy, even going back to when he was with the Dallas Cowboys, wasn't able to really balance it or control games. I think he nearly cost the Eagles the game against the Packers. I mean, obviously the Eagles defense wasn't going anywhere, ended up with all those interceptions, but I think they just have to manage the game properly, read the room, and lean on that running game. It doesn't have to be, hey, let's go up by 20 and then run Saquon 10 times in the fourth quarter. You got to run him the whole game. Benny, can we give a shout out real quick to Dallas Goedert for stiff arming Carrington Valentine on the Packers about 7 times on that 24-yard touchdown? And could you explain to me, as a former player, like how difficult is it? Like, all these guys are professionals. How crazy is it to watch somebody in the pros, manhandle their opponent in a one-on-one like that?
Yeah, these are the best athletes in the world. So I don't think it's that crazy. I think it might be a little bit embarrassing on the defensive side when things like that happen. You saw it happen with Mika Fitzpatrick and Derrick Henry. Mika Fitzpatrick's an all-pro. Derrick Henry's an all-pro. Sometimes you're going to win. Sometimes you're going to lose. Yeah. I was happy to see Jalen Hurts actually make that check at the line of scrimmage. They had got blitz zero early on in the game like that. And you can tell it's blitz zero when all of the secondary is pretty much aligned on the same level. And he didn't check it early on in the game, and he checked it to a screen, which is, it's hard to defend on a blitz zero look. It's something that I learned when I was playing with Peyton and Drew and Eli. You get a blitz zero look, they bring all the pressure. You call a screen, either a tunnel screen or a bubble screen, and you could pretty much score, because if you beat one defender, there's nobody else left. So it was good to see Jalen Hurts actually check that. And then Dallas Goedert, you just got to beat one guy, makes a couple stiff arms, and gets into the end zone.
I got to ask you, when Saquon slid down instead of scoring there, I think they were up 12 already. It would have put them up 19 with like a minute 30 or a minute 15 left. Were you yelling, "What are you doing?" or were you yelling, "Nice work, 26"?
26 got great football awareness. What's the point? He's not playing for stats. He's literally playing to get to the next week. Let's run the clock out. Let's get home. Let's get the body rested up. Let's take care of the body, and let's move on.
Nice. I love it. The Rams tied a postseason record with 9 sacks in their wild card win over the Minnesota Vikings. Saquon Barkley led the NFL with career highs in scrimmage yards, 2,283 this year, as well as rush yards, 2,005. 8th most rushing yards in a single regular season in NFL history. The Rams can make the NFC Championship game, Benny, for the 3rd time in 8 seasons under Sean McVay, who previously led the team to a Super Bowl win, as well as another Super Bowl appearance, of course, with 2 different quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff. Benny, before we get out of this matchup and on to the main event of the weekend. I have to ask you about the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell. Where do you attribute blame? How much of it is credit to the Rams? How much of it is shaking your head at Minnesota Vikings not being fully ready for what they faced?
I mean, I want to definitely give credit to the Rams, but when I think about Sam Darnold, when I think about the Vikings, as much as I love Kevin O'Connell, Detroit kind of exposed you. Now, how do you know this is a copycat league? So people are just going to copy that. People are going to copy that next year in terms of, okay, how do we take Justin Jefferson out? We're just going to double team him, and then we're going to make your third and fourth best receiver beat us. TJ Hawkinson didn't show up, and the run game wasn't there. And I think, some of that's, they're missing their left tackle, but you haven't played with him for a long time now. So some of it's on Sam Darnold, but most of it I would put on the coaching staff of what are the answers to the test? Like, okay, if we had to play Detroit again and we had to see those same types of coverages and same types of defenses, how do we answer that? And they didn't answer it back-to-back weeks. And that's disappointing. You didn't see them make any adjustments at halftime of the Detroit game. And then you have another week of preparation and practice, and you didn't answer any of those questions.
So you think at least
Sam Darnold not calling the plays.
Right. Because to the viewer, to anybody watching the game, the look on Darnold's face, and let alone like kind of his hesitations, his flinches, his reactions to the pressure, make it look like it's like that old seeing ghost line that he used when he was with the Jets. But you're saying at least a good amount to a large part of that consternation is not having the answers provided by the coach like he's had throughout the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Even if they had won that game, whoever they were going to play, they would have been playing Detroit again.
Yes, they would have, because they would have.
You have to have the answers to that test.
Right. Actually, they would have been the 5 and Washington won, so they would have gone to Philly. But same as what you're saying, they would have been facing an Eagles defense that recorded 3 interceptions. Really an impressive unit. Vic Fangio has to win an assistant coach of the year award. Slay, Quinyon Mitchell, and Zach Bond all get picks. And I just have to say, Benny, there were plenty of reasons why this guy wasn't the first edge rusher taken in the draft. Like what flavors people like, scouts, how they see different players. But Jared Verse being selected 19th overall last April and not higher is baffling to me. I'm not saying he's like the next Myles Garrett or anything like that, but you had the Atlanta picking at 8. Of course, they picked Penix, but Atlanta at 8, who needed an edge rusher. Even the Giants, if they had drafted him there instead of trading for Brian Burns and trading a draft pick. You have the Bears at 9, who took Rome Odunze instead of reinforcing their D-line. And even the Colts and the Vikings, who took Latu from UCLA and Dallas Turner at 15 and 17. Verse just looks like a higher level player than all of these guys. And in an NFL where defensive ends or outside linebackers, like if you're an elite player there, you usually go, at least one of them goes top 3 or 5. It's amazing to me that this guy was available to the Rams there. You saw him return that 57-yard fumble for a touchdown. And I mean, an explosive physical specimen who is helping you kind of change the line of scrimmage and not miss, at least in this one playoff game, like not having Aaron Donald anymore. It really wows me that he was available to them. And I think that was a great draft pick by the Rams.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that sets up the main event. The Baltimore Ravens, the 3rd seed in the AFC, on Sunday night. We have Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson on the call, a 6:30 start Eastern time. The Ravens and Lamar Jackson, 1-point favorites as we sit here now on the road against Josh Allen's 2-seeded Buffalo Bills. Benny, these two quarterbacks did face each other in the playoffs in the 2020 season, of course, so different crowd scene. The Bills beat the Ravens that year 17-3. Taron Johnson for the Bills at 101-yard interception return, but different teams. Stephon Diggs no longer on the Bills. And of course, the Ravens have Derrick Henry. How do you handicap this game? And who do you like among these two MVP frontrunner candidates, Lamar and Josh Allen.
Yeah, for the game of the week, I'm taking Baltimore. Lamar goes on the road. He continues to play well. I think he's playing incredible. Derrick Henry being there, that 1-2 dynamic duo is incredible. But I think Lamar, who he is as a passer this year, is the best that we've seen him. Pocket passer, just making plays on the run. I mean, he's got some of the no-look Steph Curry type passes where he's throwing the ball and he knows that it's getting ready to be a touchdown. So I think right now he's just playing with extreme confidence. What I would encourage if I was talking to the Baltimore staff is, hey, don't get into a who's the better player MVP battle. We're going to show that Lamar is better than Josh Allen in this game with our game plan, because that really doesn't matter. And that's how you guys end up losing to Patrick Mahomes, or you guys end up losing in the playoffs, is that you get into these personal vendettas of who's the better player. We're going to showcase that Lamar is better. No, call the game to win the game. Call the plays to win the game. So Derrick Henry should have a huge game on the ground. No one can stop him. Buffalo's defense isn't that good. You're missing the Micah Hyde. You're missing the Jordan Poyers of the world, who were dynamic playmakers for the Buffalo Bills over time and who used to set the tone for that defense. Derrick Henry should have a huge game. Lamar should have a huge game. I think Josh is going to play well, though, and I think he is going to come with it. I hope it's a shootout. I hope it's a high-scoring shootout type of game, but it could be one of those ugly 21-17 type of games, but I have Baltimore coming out on top.
Yeah, for me, like betting wise, it's hard to bet against a team as hot explosive as the Bills when they're a dog at home. So I do like the bet of the Bills, but I do agree that if there's a year that Lamar and the Ravens are going to do it, it's now.
Yep.
Derrick Henry is the reason why. I think if they're in a position to ice it and have him just bludgeon the Buffalo defense in the late third and fourth quarter in the run game and protect, even if it's a narrow lead, then I love Baltimore. I think if Lamar has to chase it in the passing game with Justice Hill on the field, like basically if Buffalo can force them into a game where Henry's off the field, then you have to like the Bills. Can't wait to watch it. Was shocked, Benny, about the Pittsburgh Steelers performance. I didn't expect them to win. I didn't expect it even to be terribly close, but 308-59, the yards between the Ravens and the Steelers at half. It was 21-0 going into the locker room. You know, again, eating crow. I'm tired of eating crow on this podcast, but saying like 7 weeks ago that the Steelers were going to make noise in the playoffs.
You know who the quarterback is? There's no way.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. Maybe it's not even worth talking about. It was that bad, but definitely needed to give the Ravens credit for that. And also point out how pathetic the Steelers were. I guess the one question I do have remaining for you is, how does Denver come out of this? You know, Bo Nix, of course, with a great first drive, that touchdown pass to Franklin, 43 yards. And I even love that Sean Payton, Riley Dixon fake punt showing some aggression. But Buffalo runs up 471 yards of offense. Just seemed like a Denver defense that had a great season. Just really couldn't find any answers.
Yeah, if you're not getting to Josh early on, if you're not hitting him early on, it's going to be tough because he's such a dynamic player. He's such a big body. I think Denver was just overwhelmed. You know, this is first time in the playoffs in 9 years. You get in there with a rookie quarterback. No one on that offense pretty much has ever been been in the playoffs besides, McGlinchey, I believe. I don't think any of the other receivers, maybe little Jordan Humphrey, had been in a playoff atmosphere. And I don't really know how many players on the defense had been in playoff games. So you lack the playoff experience from a leadership standpoint. The coaching staff hasn't been to the playoffs in a couple of years. Sean is just now getting back into coaching. So you're just overwhelmed with a team, who has something to prove, is playing at home. And, you got to be able to go blow for blow with that type of team. So I'm proud of Denver. I'm proud of Bo Nix. The best thing for Denver and the best thing about this season for Denver is that now this is the first offseason in 9 years where you don't have to figure out who the quarterback is. Now you have a little bit more cap room to play with. Sean will continue to draft well. It's an exciting time to be a Denver Bronco, and I think, we'll land some free agents here on the offense, defense, and special team side, and Sean will continue to build the program and culture that he wants. And Denver, I expect them to, add 1 or 2 more wins to their belt. So they should have 11 or 12 more wins next year. And it'll pretty much stay consistent like that throughout Sean's tenure and Bo Nix's tenure.
No, a great season there. Great first season for Bo and great performance by Sean Payton and the Broncos. Bright skies ahead. One more question about this game, Benny. The Buffalo Bills, even though they've been very good for so many years now with Josh Allen and the Baltimore Ravens, you look at these teams, they still haven't gotten it done. And I'm wondering from your vantage point, do you think either of these coaches is going to be under some significant pressure if they lose this game? Like Sean McDermott, as much as the Bills have been winning, they haven't been to the conference championship in the AFC since 2020. And on the Ravens side, you have Lamar Jackson, you have Derrick Henry. What else more can you want? You led the NFL in total offense. Does the loser of this game face really hard questions, harder questions at the head coaching spot than just what happened on Sunday?
Only on the Bills side, not on Baltimore side. Bills side, you got to rethink it. And what does it really look like to bring in another head coach, another voice, and really see, if you can get over that hump. From the Baltimore side, I just don't see anybody really stepping in and doing what Harbaugh's doing from a toughness culture standpoint, how consistent he's been as a leader. I think player-wise, it's a lot more pressure on Lamar Jackson because he's got the MVPs. From a coaching standpoint, I think more of the pressure's on the Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott.
Yeah, I agree. Last one from me. Dallas Cowboys coaching vacancy. Mike McCarthy is gone. I'm going to give you 3 candidates. You tell me most likely to least likely. And then if there's another name you want to throw in, go ahead. Cliff Kingsbury, Kellen Moore, and Deion Sanders. Who is the most likely to be the next head coach, and who is the least likely of those 3?
Deion Sanders, most likely. Cliff Kingsbury, least likely. Jerry's all about a show. Deion can put on a hell of a show, but I don't think any of those candidates should be there. I'd like to see like a Mike Tomlin go to Dallas.
I felt like I was giving Jerry Jones too much credit when I heard McCarthy was gone. My first thought was, if I'm giving Jerry the benefit of the doubt, he either thinks he's going to snatch Ben Johnson from Vegas and Detroit, or he's got a trade for Tomlin lined up. Like, that was my first thought. Yeah. And to hear
Ben Johnson's not going there. Ben Johnson doesn't want the clown show.
He just wants to score points and call plays and win.
Yeah.
Well, if he wants to do that, he should stay in Detroit, as we've talked about.
Well, he wants an input and a say, and I think, maybe Ben Johnson's this next McVay, LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell type of coordinator, head coach, where you just have such a feel and pulse on the offense, and you bring you draft your franchise quarterback and you're there for the next 10 years with him, or you bring in the veteran that you want. So, but the Tom Brady effect is in full effect. If you get a call or you sit down with Tom, in which probably this happens with Ben Johnson, it's going to be hard to say no, because Tom can get you fired up and he can believe in your vision, and he sees what it's like. He's calling your games. He loves football. Mark Davis is definitely leaning on him in terms of the right coaching hire and making calls. And then Ben Johnson now comes here. Now Vegas is a destination to play if you're an offensive player. And then now this is Tom Brady's full year in ownership. Like, you'll see a real effect there in terms of players coming to play there.
He is the one and only Benny Fowler, Super Bowl champion, former NFL wide receiver, here on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. Thank you so much for joining me, Benny. Can't wait to watch these divisional games.
Appreciate you, Pat.
That was another great episode of Talking Ball with Pat Leonard, with Benny Fowler previewing the NFL divisional playoff round. Really excited for these games. Make sure you stay tuned for my picks on all the games and my props, my playoff sprinkles, the Patty Leonard sprinkles, those prop bets that are going to hit big come Saturday and Sunday. Look for that on my Instagram account, PL on NFL, as well as on X, P Leonard NYDN. Remember, we are sponsored here by MyBookie. MyBookie, rolling out the red carpet for sports bettors this season. We've been rocking and rolling, regular season and playoffs. Make sure you use my promo code PATSPICKS, PATSPICKS, at the link in all my social media profiles. and you'll get a 50% match on your first deposit of $50 or more, all the way up to $1,000. My bookie, bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Also brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants and heart-healthy compounds right here over my shoulder. I personally feel a post-workout like energy boost when I take Boom. You can easily pour this natural liquid supplement into any of your favorite drinks. I put mine in my coffee every morning. Chaga has the ability to lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve immune and heart health with its beta-glucans and antioxidants. Go to boomchaga.com today. Place your first order using that code, TalkingBall25, or access it through the QR code on your screen and get 25% off your first order on the subscribe and save option. Right now, that means a month's supply of Boom Chaga costs you only $30. Start feeling the difference today at boomchaga.com. And Talking Ball with Pat Leonard here on the Believe Network and on the Talking Ball with Pat Leonard YouTube channel at PL on NFL is brought to you by Estate 98 Coffee, a specialty coffee concentrate perfect for when you want to make a quick cup of coffee and skip the lines. It takes me less than 10 seconds to make a delicious Estate 98 iced or hot coffee. It's great as a mixer for espresso martinis, and each bottle can make up to 16 cups. Go to estate98.com/talkingball and get an exclusive offer, 80% off your first order of Estate 98 coffee. Thanks for being here for the latest episode of Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. Join us for Talking Ball Live with Pat Leonard here on Thursday, January 16th, 2025, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we'll check in with you after the divisional round as the AFC and NFC championship games get set. See you next time.